Very special guest, the actor, essayist, playwright Wallace Shawn, and also activist. So welcome, Wallace Shawn.
Shooting at ambulances and starving people, torturing people, trapping people in a place they can't escape from, and massacring them, killing children. These are things that I think are upsetting to most humans when they hear about them.
Right.
Now, in Israel itself, obviously, they are experiencing a kind of insanity and don't. They're suppressing that naturally human sense of decency, and God knows what the result of that ultimately will be for them. But that's what they're doing. So, I mean, but I also happen to know a little bit about it. I don't think you have to know about it to know that killing the innocent is evil. You don't have to know much, just as in the Vietnam period, for the most powerful country in the world to be bombing peasants was, people knew that was wrong, even if they didn't know the history.
Right. And what are your thoughts on the protests that we're seeing now, both in Brooklyn with Jewish Voice for Peace, but also the protests that are taking places at universities?
Well, I think that when I read my New York Times, they describe these protests as pro-Palestinian. Now, some of the people in the protests know a lot about the history and care deeply about the Palestinian people. But these are not really demonstrations in favor of the Palestinian people. They're demonstrations against horrifying sadism and cruelty. And the desire for a ceasefire for most of the people at the demonstration is about human suffering, not so much about the liberation of the Palestinian people, which may be the primary thought in the mind of some people. But pro-Palestinian, as the New York Times describes these demonstrations every day, implies that there's like a sports match, and you're either on the side of the Palestinians or you're on the side of the Israelis. That's not the right way to think about it. And it also, pro-Palestinian also implies that the people in the demonstration are supporters of Hamas and believe enthusiastically in terrorism and in what the fighters of Hamas did on October the 7th in Israel, which I am promising you most of the people in the demonstrations don't support. And some of us would like to point out to the people of the world that there's some extremely benign, decent Jews who despise what is happening, who loathe what is happening. And, it's horrible, really, to think that the consequence of his crimes was the creation of this misbegotten state, really, which many left-wing Jews warned against, by the way, but the creation of a state which is now the most hated country in the world thank you, Netanyahu. This is a terrible, terrible thing. And unfortunately, so many of the people in Israel seem to support what their government is doing. And, I hope to God that there will be change over there, and that the reputation of Jews in general will not be harmed. I mean, I think all the talk about anti-Semitism, I haven't really, it's very hard I don't really believe that there's a lot of anti-Semitism on campus of Columbia University.
Right.
To me, anti-Semitism is about despising a race of people. I don't think so. I don't think they've come up with many examples of actually bad things that have happened to Jews, although the students, Jewish students, particularly Zionists, may feel hated,
Right.
but that's not anti-Semitism.
Right.
Let's hope that anti-Semitism doesn't develop. Anti-Semitism in Europe was a hatred of people who had not harmed anybody.
Right.
They burned people at the stake in the 14th century because they thought they'd poisoned the wells, and they hadn't poisoned the wells. They thought that they were killing babies, and they weren't killing babies. They were innocent. Now, the Israelis are really doing something bad.
Yeah.